Let me change the view. There you go.
Good morning. Welcome, Suzanne. I hope you can hear us. You're the first one and only so far who's come to our waiting room. We had several people lined up, though, to show up, and we did have some people asking about the class this morning. So hopefully a few more people will come live. You're welcome to stay off camera or be on camera. Good. Here's more showing up. Yay. If you guys want to, as you're coming in, just let us know in the chat. Suzanne, thank you for already jumping in the chat. Let us know maybe where you're watching from. And if you did come looking for any information in particular that you want to make sure we touch on, please put it in there, or maybe any interest that you have in the topics we mentioned, because we'll try to address them for sure. We're going to give people a few minutes to show up, and then we'll get moving right along, because we are, and I might mention this again as we get going, because I want to let everybody know we are recording, as we mentioned, so that we can send this out to people who weren't able to attend in person, so that everyone can get this information we're about to share today, which hopefully it will be very helpful for all of you. Great, Suzanne, we're definitely gonna talk some finances. Miranda, we're all jealous that you're watching from Hawaii and Northern Illinois. What's it like there? Is it snowing? Because I think that Audrey and Wazoo both have at least it's weather for snow, if not snow on the ground. I don't. I'm in Arizona. I'm in the Phoenix area, and it is cloudy and rainy today. And we are so excited because we haven't had moisture or precipitation of almost any kind barely for the past year. We didn't even get our monsoons, which we usually get in the summer. So we are all super excited to have rainy, cloudy days. And Miranda, where in Hawaii are you? I'm so curious, because I got to take my kids to Oahu last summer before, of course, not during COVID, the year before, and we had the best time. It was our biggest, most exciting vacation ever. And the highlight that we did was we went and swam with the sharks. They thought that was the coolest thing. We were in a cage, but there were sharks all around us. That was thrilling. So I want to give people just maybe like one more minute before we really jump in. But so if anyone else, where's your top vacation that you've been to? That was mine with my kids, at least, taking them. We had so much fun. But then the thing was, my cousin her husband's in the Navy, so we got to go stay with them. So we follow people where they are so we can get it cheap, right? That's what you got to do when you're a single mom, is stretch your dollar. And that's what we did. So awesome. Hawaii was a big, awesome trip for you too, Audrey. I love it. So yeah, we had such a great time. I would love to take them back. So maybe COVID will slow down and we can. My cousin was saying that they're not doing the restrictions like they were, and flights are going to be cheap for a while. So I don't know. We have to decide if we're adventurous enough or not. And so we're ready to take the risk, I guess, right? All right, well, we are so glad that you are here. And ladies, even if it's just a couple of you, because I think several people are going to be watching the recordings, which we'll be sending that out to all of you so you can review the material and then and get the information again if you've missed it. So feel free to take notes, but you don't have to, because we are going to be just chatting and enjoying each other's company this morning. And then we will send out the recording so you can watch it again later. All right. Well, my name is Allison Denon. If you don't know me, I have Fab Life Now as my business, and it's where I make it my mission to teach women some real simple strategies to get a handle on their money. And I say master your money, because even if it's a mess at first, even if you've been through a lot in life, which I am definitely a financial counselor that believes that life happens and it can mess your finances up a little bit. but there's always a way to fix it. And it's just one step at a time, and diligence and doing the right strategies and actions. And then things will get better. Things will get better. So that's me. I'm going to give you my top 3 financial tips to get your year started shortly. But I'd also like to welcome my friends. Audrey is here today, and she's going to be talking to us about our physical health. So Audrey, would you like to share who you are?
Sure, thank you. So yeah, like you said, I help with physical health. I'm a health coach, but I specialize especially in hormones, so female hormones. And so basically I help women who are struggling with PMS or, low energy, unexplainable weight gain. And I coach them to find that radiant health so that, the hormone things that we all hate and have all struggled with, but don't know how to get out of this. I help them get out of it with actual facts in a natural and holistic way.
I love it. I need it. That's for sure. So I can't wait to hear your tips for us, because I'm definitely going to be taking notes. And then I'd love to welcome my second friend, Wazoo. She's going to tell us how to learn a little bit more about ourselves and then sharing that with others, which is such an important thing. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you. Very happy to be here. I'm Huazhu Yang from Hey Thrive Coaching, and I'm all about self-expression and helping us to bring out the true selves we have inside with the world. So I'm really excited to understand what concerns you all might have in that area and to help us nourish the inner selves that we so deserve to share with the world.
Awesome. I love that. I know sometimes as women, we get so caught up in the things we're doing in our life, whether it's our marriage or our families or our jobs, that even if there's a challenge there, often we forget who we are inside. So that's such a valuable thing for us to first figure that out and then be able to share it and learning the value of that again. Well, ladies, today we are here to help you all regain strength. And we wanted to talk about it in a way, step into your strength, because the thing is, you already have it. Okay. We know that as women, that you may not feel so strong, but you are innately strong. And if you look back at your life, I know you've accomplished so much, whether you've had kids or not, whether you have accomplished different things in school. I bet you've graduated. I bet you've had jobs that you were proud of. I bet you have had things that you know that you had to be strong to accomplish. So look back at those things as we're talking today to remind yourself, but that's what we're here to do, is we're here to give you some tips and tricks so that you can get back feeling like you're strong and move forward in this year in that strength that you already have. We're just hoping to amplify it a little bit or help you draw it out again. All right. So we're ready to get started. We're going to give you our 3 steps to get going this year, each of us. So Wazoo's going to lead us in the conversation.
Excellent. How about we start with Audrey first? What would be your number 1 tip for people to think about going into finding strength in 2021?
Yeah, I think my first most precious tip that has transformed so many women's health is to take care of your liver. And the reason for that, it seems so counterintuitive, but the liver is where your hormones are being detoxified. And so any imbalance that you have, it has to go through your liver before it, exits or is metabolized or it's reused. And so many of the physical issues, like, fatigue or, overweight, skin rashes or a lot of acne and things like that are directly linked to the health of your liver. So the first thing that I would recommend to anyone who wants to take their health into their own hands and to make sure that 2021 is so much different than 2020 would be to take care of your liver. Now, how do we do that? So in the email that you guys all have received prior to this recording, we sent out some of the bonus that we are sending, and one of them is the liver support sheet. So feel free to look at that. It's actually a list of colorful foods. And the reason this is the sheet that you should start looking is because your liver needs specific nutrients to detox. And those nutrients are found in the colors that we have in our fruit and our vegetables. So by eating one of each color, at best every day, at worst, at least once a week, we're making sure that we're getting all of the nutrients that we need for liver to work properly. Because the thing is, if you're lacking one nutrient, your liver may be able to get rid of some of the poisons or some of the hormones that it's ready to get rid of, but not completely. And so you get, for example, estrogens, which are a very important hormone, but we have a lot of it often. And so the liver starts to process it, but then it's lacking a nutrient, or it's lacking the time and the energy to do it. And it stays processed. And then the liver is unsure of what to do with it, and it just sends it back to the body. And we end up with so many health issues, and especially acne. This is like the first thing that you will have. And so if you don't have all of the nutrients that your liver needs to detox, then, well, your body's going to take a toll of it. So to make sure that you have all of the nutrients, the easiest way, it's called the Rainbow Challenge. You may have heard of it, but it's basically making sure that every day you eat one food of each color. And so that's purple, blue, pink. It's considered one color. Don't ask me why they put all of these colors into one, but orange, red, yellow, and green. But if you have all of these colors in your diet, then your liver has everything it needs to make sure that it's detoxifying properly, and that therefore you're not going to suffer from the extra hormones or the extra poisons that are in your body, and that your body doesn't know what to do with it. So it just like tries to reuse it and repurpose it as acne or fatigue or extra weight. So that would be my first step.
Thank you, Audrey. I can't wait to start the Rainbow Challenge. And I did not expect at all for the liver to come up right away. So I got the point that we should eat one of each color at least so that we can help our liver be able to process for our body.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
I love that too, because I have adult acne. And so anything that helps is going to be great. But so what's purple?
Yes, such a great question.
I'm brainstorming in my mind these different colors. What's a purple one?
Yes, blueberries, eggplant, pomegranate. Those are like my top best. What else is blue and purple? Beetroot. Surprisingly, beetroot is not red, it's purple, but
I see. That helped. I could think of at least one for each of the others, but for some reason now blueberries, of course.
yes, blue. Good question.
Great. And now, Allison, what about your number one tip for us?
Absolutely. So beginning of the year is a great time to start looking at, oh wait, hang on. We got a question coming in from Suzanne. So I'm going to wait a second and I'll move on to finances in a second. But she says she's postmenopausal, so too much estrogen is not her problem. According to the rainbow chart, that she's doing well in all colors, maybe not yellow. So do you have any tips for yellow?
Yeah, and actually it's really cool that too much estrogen is not your problem. That's amazing that you got past that. It's like such a relief. But yes, so yellow, bananas. And bananas are easy to add into anything. Onions are considered a yellow food. You have the yellow peppers. Now, okay, the word in English is escaping me right now. Those little cherries that are yellow. That they're called earth cherries.
They're not
in French. So I don't know if what
is it a type of tomato, like a grape tomato?
It's like a little tiny grape tomato, but it's not It looks like it, but it's not one. But yes, yellow tomatoes are a great one too. What else? Yellow.
I was thinking yellow squash.
Yes. Oh, great one. Yes, squash is yellow.
We eat that a lot with zucchini and squash.
Mhm.
So mix that
A
into
pear.
Awesome.
Corn.
Yes, corn is yellow. Yeah.
So there's some ideas. A ground cherry, Miranda says.
Ground cherry. Thank you, Miranda. Thank
I
you
haven't
so
heard
much.
of that either. I'm gonna have to go look that up.
It's very good. I eat them like chips. I just like eat them, but you have to get used to the taste, I guess. But it's very good for you.
Nice. Okay. All right, let's talk
See.
first money tips. So beginning of the year is a good time to get things in order, of course. Tax time will be coming up soon. So we're gonna start prepping for that as you get your paperwork coming in. I know I've started to see it showing up in the mail, my different notices from the different companies that I need to file with my taxes. So I'm starting to get that. So I feel like it's a good time between now and tax time is a good time to get your annual checks in. So some of the things that I'd recommend for your beginning of the year annual financial checks, or as you're getting your tax paperwork, because some of it will help you with these checks. The first one is going to be looking at your Social Security account. So as soon as you get your W-4 form, Audrey, in Canada, I'm not sure what you get. We get W-4 forms as our year, what we've made for the year. So when you get that, you need to check with Social Security and see if it's the same. So what you want to do is go to ssa.gov, which is the Social Security website, /my account. It's going to take you directly there. But if you go to the main page, you scroll down and you can find there's a little circle that says my account. You can go in there and set up your account too. So once you go in there, you want to make your own account. And then each year you do want to check that Social Security is recording accurately what you've made for the year. That's going to help you when you start getting payouts. It's also going to help you with seeing where you're at and you're planning long term. So both things, but a lot it's for accuracy. I'm old enough, I speak to during the day, I speak to a lot of young airmen. So they're all in their 20s. And I say, who remembers getting their Social Security? And they're like, no one knows what I'm even talking about. Well, they used to mail the paperwork out every year. So you could get an updated account of what their records are and what it would mean for you in the future for your Social Security payouts. They don't do that anymore. You are supposed to, because I bet no one told you. You're supposed to go on Social Security every year and check these things. So you do want to just kind of make that a part of your annual habit. Maybe put a reminder in your phone or whatnot to do it. So check in and see that they have your accurate records, because if they don't, sending them that W-4 form immediately off is going to be the easiest thing for you to do. And if you're not actively working or something like that, it's good to go in there and set up that account anyway and check what they have in the past and make sure everything is accurate and updated, and then follow that as you start planning for your retirement and when you're going to start drawing your Social Security. You'll be able to do calculators and compare and contrast when you take it at different ages and all kinds of stuff like that. So that's a really good check to start at the beginning of the year. The other one is checking your IRS withholding. So last year, IRS changed their withholding. The W-2 form that you fill out for withholding from your paycheck was revamped entirely. A lot of people didn't know this. It affected what happened with their taxes and their returns. And so now this year, I highly recommend that you get on and look. You just want to Google IRS withholding estimator, those 3 words, and it'll come up for you. The address changes because they change it year to year, but it will come right up. And as long as it's on the IRS website, irs.gov, then you know you're at the right place. What you'll want to do is input your tax information. You'll need at least 1 pay stub from your employer. So if you get a monthly, you may need to wait till the end of January, but you want to see the last tax stub and one in this year. So it'll calculate 2021. And if you input all your information tax-wise, it'll actually it'll let you know, provide for you what your tax obligation for this year should be by the end of the year. And then it will tell you exactly what to withhold with your employer so that you're on track to pay enough and not to pay too much, because you'd rather not pay too much. You don't want them withholding your taxes when you don't need them to. You want your money in your paycheck, in your hand, so you can save, so you can pay down debt, so you have access to it if you have an emergency, not waiting for them to give it to you at your next tax return. Okay, so check those two things. And then the last one would be checking your annual credit report. So if you haven't done that recently, I highly encourage you to go in and download your credit report at annualcreditreport.com is the free one set up by the government so that you can access all three once a year for free. So here's the bonus. During COVID, there actually was a lot of fraudulent actions. People were having issues with things. So they have allowed us to pull those instead of once a year. You can now pull them once a week, which is insane. So you could pull them several times between now and April if you want. That's until April 2021. So you could pull them once a month if you're trying to work on things or fix things. I haven't pulled mine once a week, but I didn't have any reason to suspect that there was any fraudulent activity. If you do, or if you are watching some changes, then you could pull them regularly to make sure things are fixing or moving in the right direction. But I would pull them at least once, all three, maybe now and maybe right at the beginning of April, so that you have those three again. And then you can pull them every few months beyond that, because you'd still have once a year. Not all three of them. Pull one of them every few months so that you can kind of monitor what's happening with your credit throughout the entire year.
Allison, since you spoke about this in terms of building the habits of pulling it at a regular interval, what would you say tactically, what are ways to make sure that we don't forget to do these tasks?
Good idea. Good question. I mean, we all use our phones these days a lot. At least I do. So I would either pencil it in on your paper calendar if you're still a paper person, or put a reminder in your phone. And if you set it up in your phone, it can be year to year, because you could do it every 3 months, every 4 months, because there's 3 of them. And that's what a lot of people will do to pull it all throughout the year. Now, I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't pull mine all through the year because I just don't have time for it. It's one of those activities that I'm going to check it when I need to. So when I think you should pull it on a regular basis is, like I said, if you're working on something, if you're trying to monitor, if you're trying to improve your credit, maybe to buy a house or a car. If you think if there has been some fraudulent activity and you want to monitor it. If you're coming out of a divorce, I would probably pull it pretty regularly for the next year just to make sure, because that person has known your personal information, or another personal relation, close relationship too. Doesn't have to be divorce, where they had your information, just to make sure. You can also put an alert on if you're worried something might happen in the future. You can put an alert on your credit for a certain amount of time. They'll notify you if anyone has tried to access your credit and it wasn't you. So that can be helpful as well. So again, just reminders in your phone every 4 months or once a year. Like you can do it in January or February around tax time, just to remind yourself, check your credit, just to make sure that it's all on the up and up, that there are no problems, because I've helped many people where we'd pull their credit and there's something random on there that they had no idea about, and it's some form of identity theft. And it's a real problem if you're pulling it to buy a house and there it is, and you don't have time to really fix it up. So that's why you want to check it at random intervals or at times when you're not trying to buy something.
Thanks, Allison. I definitely have started to get some of these documents in the mail, so this is the perfect time for me. I'll jump in with my tip for you all for today to start off. So related to both what Audrey and Allison were saying, the moment that food conversation came up, my hands just felt the need to reach for these bananas. And that is very true to me. Like, I'm a very tactile person, and it's sort of like a childish activity. But whenever I hear references, I'm in conversation, I always feel this urge to use props. And that leads into my first tip for today, which is to cherish our inner child, to notice these desires that we have that sometimes might be considered by society as silly or bizarre, but to understand where they come from. And first is just to observe. Like, we don't at the beginning, we don't need to judge or come to any conclusion about them yet, but to observe. And this could come from noticing, maybe taking a 10-minute, break once a week to notice what were the times this week when perhaps you wanted to speak up on a certain statement, but you held yourself back, but there was this feeling inside of you. And first, all we need to do is observe it. We don't need to have the answers right away, but take that time to document that. And then over time, we'll have more insights that we can then work on understanding how can we funnel that so that we can use it and employ it intentionally in our lives more day to day. But first, just taking that, giving yourself the time and permission to observe these parts of yourself will be a great starting point.
I love how you told us to watch when you wanted to speak up but didn't. That's so insightful to me, because those are the things where it's deep in you, but you're afraid to bring it out. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it because it touches so much on health and on finances too. Like, this is such a strong, deep rooted thing, like to take care of the inner child and to notice its patterns and to see that manifests itself like in every aspect of life. That's such a great tip. I love it.
And it's great to be surrounded by people who can be supportive of us to do that. All right. So let's keep on going with what else can we do to support our body, Audrey?
Yeah, so actually, it is a little bit linked to to expressing what you were saying, like you want to express and you're not, because this actually induces stress in your body too. Like this idea of not, of not being able to express what needs to be expressed, which is a perfect segue because the next huge area that is impacting our health is our adrenal glands, which are so reactive to stress levels. And in our adrenal glands, we produce progesterone, and that's something that is being produced like pre-period and after period and during period. Like this is, our adrenal glands are so critical to our overall health. And actually in the quiz that I sent, you can see and you can find if maybe this is like the biggest issue for you. Because if adrenal glands is where the health imbalance is, that means the stress is a huge toll. And again, it's not directly related to food, but to take care of your stress will have an impact on your body. It will save your health, trust me. And so the greatest tip that we have, and it's so funny because it's the only scientifically proven way that we can bring peace to our adrenal glands and to get into a mood of rest and repair for our body instead of acting on high stress, is to breathe with our belly. We hear it all the time, or if you do yoga or if you do any meditation, you hear it and it sounds a little bit like woohoo, but it's actually the only scientifically proven way that we can bring healing to our body. So the key to do it, and feel free to do it with me, is to put a hand on your chest and a hand on your belly. And when you inhale, you should feel your belly expanding and your chest moving very little. We are wired to breathe with our chest throughout the day because we're stressed. And so if you have like tensed muscles, that's usually a sign that you've been breathing with your chest instead of your belly. And it's usually a sign that your adrenal glands right now, they're like over rushing and they're probably in pain and they need some extra support. So to breathe with your belly, think Buddha, Buddha belly. Like you want to have that. And especially us women, we've been taught like, to tuck your belly in so you don't show it. But for this exercise, like, please let it all out. Let your belly expand, and take a great inhale to the point where you're like extended full, and then you exhale longer than you've inhaled. And then you should feel your belly going smaller and smaller, and your chest moving very little. And the goal is that you exhale is longer than the inhale, and that your belly is the one that's moving. So if you try that right now, try to breathe with your nose. You keep doing it as I'm talking. You're going to start to notice that you have a little weird sensations down your back. This is normal, and this is a good sign. This is a sign that your adrenal glands are suddenly getting a little bit more room to breathe. And so supporting the adrenal glands is helping your body to get on repair, rest mode, on I'm going to get myself better by myself mode. And really, it's like the greatest gift you can give your body, because your body is operating so well by itself, but we don't give it the chance to recover by itself. So by breathing this way, you're allowing it a little bit of time. And so if you could do that more and more, like in the morning, in the evenings, before meeting, after meeting, as many times as you can, then you will give your body such a great chance to get the healing that it needs.
I feel calmer after doing that exercise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that was fascinating to me because I have that right here. So I had no idea, zero, that the breathing would help me with this stress and that it had to do with my adrenal gland. That was interesting. So I have an iWatch or whatever, and it has the little breathing app, and it pops up and tells me to breathe. And half the time I dismiss it. So maybe I need to not dismiss it so much anymore.
Yes, please get as many reminders as possible and just breathe with your belly.
We're all learning and alleviating the stress in our lives, whether it be physical or potentially financial. So, Allison, what would be your next tip for us?
If I can get my unmute to go. First is figure out the technology. Second, let's talk about finances. So my second tip for the year is to really think through what your financial goals are. Because the fact is, if you don't have some goals, then you don't really know where you're going, and you don't ever know if you get there. And with money, it's super important to think through the timing on your goals. So I don't know about you guys, but in the military, I told you I work in the military. And so we do classes a lot, and they teach SMART goals. And I think that's pretty common. We all hear about the SMART goals. Well, T means timely, and timely is really important, especially with money. You want to know when your goal is for. So with money, you really want to think through, what is my short-term goal? What is my medium-term goal? And what is my long-term goal? Now, I want to add the little bit of caveat with this, because these type of goals is for someone who is on a little bit more firm ground. Okay. If you're in firm ground with your money and you feel like your feet are okay, and you can make decisions, like you have your full-time job, you have enough money to pay the bills, you're not in crisis mode. If you're not in crisis mode, then you can think about all three. If you are kind of in crisis mode, and that would mean that could be at different levels of crisis, but if your income has dropped, even partially due to this virus, or if you are going through emotional or social crisis, where things are rattled, where your income and your stability with finances are unsure, then you may not have the wherewithal to do all three of these type of goals, short, medium, and long term. And that is okay, because there will come a time when you're back on your feet and you can think through those three things. Right now, it may just be a matter of figuring out your short-term goals. So depending on where you're at will be how you'll look at this idea. But you still do want to think through short, medium, and long-term goals with your money, because it helps you decide and know where to put your money depending on those goals to make it bigger. Because the idea is you don't want to just make $1 and keep $1. You want to make $1 and you want to turn into $2, to turn into $20, to turn into $2,000, and so on and so forth. So you want your money to work for you as best it can. And that is going to work. You're going to be able to do that if you know your goals and when they're going to happen. So examples of that: short-term goals are anything that you're going to need to do within the next 3 years at the top. So 1 year to 3 years or less. Okay, so if you're trying to just make ends meet, or if you're trying to stash some cash because you need to make a change, if you are just trying to get to the point, maybe make some side hustles or something so you can pay your bills because your income has dropped and you're looking for a job, whatever, that's going to be real short term. So your money is focused on the here and now. You need it to be liquid in your savings account. Okay. Second one would be medium term. A medium term goal would be anywhere from, I'd say, over 3 years, but some people say more like 4 to 5 years to, it can be as much as to retirement. So retirement is going to be age 60 or older in the US. And that is going to be, so pretty much 5 years to age 60 is kind of a medium-term financial goal as to where to put your money. You don't want it in a retirement fund because you have to wait until after 60 for that, but you also want to make some money on it. So you want to move it to maybe an investment account. An investment account can be used anytime your goal is not going to happen for 5 years or more, because our stock market typically has always regained over history in about 5 years time. So you can take risk of the stock market if it's a 5 year or more goal. So say you're trying to save for a big trip, a big vacation you're trying to plan, and you want it to happen in 8 years because you're going to maybe go to Europe or something big. Then you could actually invest that money in a brokerage account and it could accrue interest much higher, at a much higher rate for you. Okay. And then long-term goals is going to be retirement. Everybody, unless you are over age 60, should be saving for retirement in some way, shape, or form. Well, unless you're in a crisis mode, you might need to pause that for a little bit of time. But if you're not in crisis and you're not over 60, you should be saving something for retirement. Don't wait. Put in something, even if it's $20 a month, because that's where your money will really grow for you. Let's see. It looks like we have a question. Liquid money. Yes, good question. CDs, savings, checking. So right now, Suzanne, high yield account is the answer to that. CDs are not getting any better. CDs are usually locked in by time, and it's 6 months to 5 years. And if they're not getting any better interest, why lock your money in? So I don't recommend CDs unless you find like a special one that is like a promotion. Sometimes a bank will offer a special promotion, and I've seen a CD in the last year. I don't know if they still have it, but it was like 3%. That's phenomenal, but it was only $1,000. So if you banked there, I would take advantage of it. Just put $1,000 in that CD to get that 3%, but it's not going to help a lot because it's so limited and you can't really build it. But other than that, high yield accounts are about 0.6%, like you mentioned, or less. So I would, though, anytime I'm building money or just holding it for a rainy day, it's my emergency fund, I'd make sure it's in a high yield account. And high yield account today is 0.6% or less. But if you are in an account that's known as high yield, then as the market starts to increase, their interest should increase with the market, which is good. High yield meaning CD? No. High yield is just a savings account that actually gives you interest. So they're known as high yield because they pay out interest. So some of the big names in our country are like USAA, Navy Fed, let me think, Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. They all are low interest banks. They don't pay out interest in their savings accounts. It's not one of the products they offer. is high yield account. They don't. So they're usually sitting at 0.1% or less interest. 0.1%. I think, Suzanne, you mentioned some are as low as 0.02. There's one bank, I think it's Bank of America, that I was laughing with some clients the other day because they have 3 tiers. And if you have lots and lots and lots of money in yours and you're up to the 3rd tier of money, like you have 50,000, then they bump you up to 0.03% interest instead of 0.01. So you're making lots more pennies, not much. That's not high yield. So it's just about picking the bank that will actually pay you a little bit of interest. So a great place to find one is bankrate.com. So I love bankrate.com. It's a great research website. They'll do ads and stuff. So when you're searching, you have all kinds of choices. It'll come up along the side. This side, it's mirroring me. It's going to be on the left side of the screen. There's the choices. You can choose savings, and then you can put what you're looking for. You can put in an amount, like if you have $5,000 that you're looking to put in that account, you could put that just to get an idea. And then you can rank it by interest rate, APY. And you also have to check that you want to see all of them, not the preferred lenders, because they'll show the preferred ones that pay to advertise at the top unless you unclick the preferred box. But then it will rank all the banks that you're eligible for in it based on your zip code. So they can work with you, then they'll come up on that list and it'll show you lots of possibilities. So a lot of if you don't have a high yield account right now, a lot of the credit card companies actually, because they're making so much interest on you, I don't know, but they're making so much interest on you on the credit cards that they also offer some high yield savings accounts. Like I've seen American Express come up on this, Capital One has one usually, Discover Bank usually has had one lately. So you can kind of check and see what's offering one. And if it's somewhere you already do business, like you have a credit card with them, it'd be a great place to just start a new account. Also a tip, make sure that if your bank has one of these high yield accounts, or check if it does, that you're using it, because I've helped several clients that were at one of the banks that were coming up on our high yield list, but it was a newer account than they had opened. And so they weren't getting the high yield. They were in a savings account there, but they were not in the high yield account. So all they had to do was shift their money, but they had to call and tell them. And once they did, they like 10 times to their interest. As things progress, as the economy recovers a little bit, you'll start, if you're in a high yield account, you'll start getting emails that say, congratulations, your interest went up. And hopefully we'll be back I've seen where like Chase and Wells Fargo and all them had 0.1%, and the high yields were offering 2.5%. So it can be a big difference if you're in one of those accounts or not. Okay.
Great questions. All right. One theme that I saw from what both you, Audrey, and Allison just said was connecting to bigger goals. So with our body, it's so much more motivating for me to take time and practice my breathing when I know that it helps my adrenal glands and it has these bigger effects. And then similarly with our finances is to know what I'm planning for, whether it's a big purchase in the next year or for my retirement. And from my perspective as a self-expression coach, how I connect to that is to also be aware of the feelings that we're interested in cultivating for ourselves. So a lot of the times people might have goals of, oh, I want to achieve this project, I want to get this promotion, or I want to make this purchase, because we have this bigger goal, which is, oh, I want to feel secure, I want to feel successful and accomplished. And so when it helps us to connect to those emotions that we're actually aiming for, it's useful to know where are we at now so that we can see what's the gap to what we need to get to. And part of that comes from taking the space to do that evaluation on ourselves of what is it that really brings us joy. And so one practice that I like to keep for this is that there might be moments sprinkled out through your week where you get this elevated sense of joy, but we often forget about them after the week goes by, if several weeks go by, and then it becomes when we don't give labels and meaning and, effort to think about those moments, it makes us not know really what it is that we want to be chasing for. And so one example I had this week was I I met some people virtually in a Zoom meeting, and we went around introducing ourselves. And then when it came time for me to introduce myself, I tossed out a very vulnerable comment that one of my interests is to get into acting. And then this other woman who had already introduced herself earlier in the call said, "Oh wait, so do I. I just didn't want to say that because I felt embarrassed to say that." And for me, that was a moment of joy where I got to, by being vulnerable, got to help someone else to express themselves. And so I wrote that down, and makes me think about how can I put myself in a position to do that more often for people. And so I would say, as you go about your days, whether it's moments of creating joy or moments of deep pain, like annoyances that you have, to jot those down so that they can be grounding points for you as you make your way to, how can I get more of what I want to feel and less of what I don't want to feel.
That is so profound. I love that. This is, yeah, it it ties so well with everything that we've been saying in the beginning of like honoring and respecting where you're at. It's such a beautiful recommendation. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. And what is a third tip, Audrey, from you today?
Yeah, so it actually goes straight into that following that inner intuition. Because my tip is to do that, to follow the inner intuition. And the reason I say that is because we've been trained to kind of look at our wants and needs, or like body reaction, as something to be fixed instead of something to be followed. So, for instance, like, you're so much hungry, um, but you think, well, last week I wasn't that hungry and I'm gonna gain weight if I eat more, so I'm just gonna like only get one plate and not eat more. But when we do that, we're actually going against your body need, and it's because you have a higher metabolism. I keep struggling to pronounce that word. But there are certain points, especially as a woman in your month, where you need more food, and your body needs that food, that extra calorie count. But we have a tendency to ignore it and push it aside because we think, I'm just going to gain more weight, or that sounds like, I'm not really hungry, I'm just craving, and that's bad. And we push it aside and we don't follow that, but it's actually a need of the body, and it would create more wealth, and like wealth and wellness within the body, of energy, of healing power, like the capacity of the body to heal itself by itself. Or we, we are in the winter and we're like, I'm really wanting a smoothie, but it's winter, like, or I need a cold drink, but it's winter, so I'm just not going to do that. But actually, that means your body temperature is rising and it's actually craving for something to cool it down. And that's something you need to listen to. Or the opposite, you're in the summer and you're like, oh, I want some soup, or I want something warm. But we would have a tendency to ignore that and think, but it's summer, or the circumstance is different. It's not, that doesn't make any sense. And we kind of push it to the side and we end up hurting our bodies, because our bodies are actually asking us for something very specific, because they're like, hey, I need to heal something and I need that. So I'm going to make you crave for it, but it's not giving us that. And so, my approach to cravings is not to ignore them or use your willpower to go against them, but to pay attention to it and to start following that inner intuition. And obviously, if you're craving at 3 a.m. like a pack of Skittles, then maybe it's a good idea to explore why and what's happening at 3 a.m. But most often, our body cravings, they're really important. And to ignore that is actually to go against our health. And it's cutting us short on the benefits of this ability of healing by itself that we could get if we were to listen to that intuition. So thank you for introducing it so well, Hozu. That's
Absolutely. And I will now question, if I'm trying to taste the rainbow using Skittles instead of using fruits and vegetables, why is that?
exactly. Why?
That's awesome. Well, in the chat, Suzanne kind of started to talk about what you were saying, that she needs Cheetos at 9 p.m. And I love it. I can totally relate. But so, Audrey, do you suggest that we follow that, but we just have healthy, possibilities maybe for when we're feeling like that, when we want to eat more, we just go to our list of good foods for the liver? Or do we go to just have some snacks? Like if we're craving something sweet, do we get fruits and vegetables, dark chocolate, or have it in smaller amounts? Or what would be your recommendation when we're feeling those munchies and we're wanting to reach for the bad things?
Yes, absolutely. It's such a struggle, isn't it? But okay, so if you're reaching for the baddies, my first recommendation is don't go against it just yet. Look at it with a curious mind and get those Cheetos, get those Skittles, get them. But when you get them, ask, what do I really need? Is it the salty? Is it the sweet? Um, Sometimes, the chocolate. I'm sorry if you guys are hearing next door. There's a baby crying. I hope it's not too loud. But um, sometimes the craving for chocolate is actually a craving for magnesium, and so you're gonna crave dark chocolate instead of very light chocolate. Um, and so to kind of get a feel of what am I actually wanting, like when I'm going for the Skittles, does it have to be Skittles or is it like the sugar of it? And so when you find out what it is that you're really craving, then there's two paths. This could be a physical craving, like my body's warm and I need it to cool down, or I have low energy and I need the rush of energy, or I've had so much water that I need more salt to feel balanced again. Or it could be an emotional craving. I'm sad, I'm scared, I need comfort, I'm stressed out. And then when you know what you're craving, it's easier to find out to which category one of the craving belongs to, and then you can make a healthier choice. So if you're recognizing, okay, I need salt, then you can pick something where a vegetable where you add some salt or spices to it, or like you can have this healthier options then, knowing that this will actually satisfy your craving. But I wouldn't go to there just yet. I would start by looking and being aware of what exactly am I looking for. Great question.
Wow, that was so helpful because it approaches it from a place of not judging ourselves, like, why do I want Cheetos? But from taking that and thinking further, what's actually the taste profile or the emotional need that we want, which seems actually very fun to explore. Like, I would love to increase my understanding of, okay, if I want salt, like what are all the different ways I can get it? The different ways that the world can provide that to me. Like, that sounds actually really, really exciting to learn about.
Yes, and it's such a place of empowerment. It's like instead of thinking, oh, here I go again, craving the baddies, it's more of like, here I go, I need something, what can I get for myself? It's like I have the choice, I have the power, and I know myself and I know what I need. So yes, from a place of self-awareness, exactly.
Amazing. All right. And as we continue on our journey of self-awareness and we want to keep refining our finances, what would be your final tip for us today, Allison?
My final tip is, now that you've kind of done your checks and you've set a few goals, or at least thought through where you're at with your money and what you want to accomplish, the next thing is to set up as many auto systems as you can. We talked earlier about setting up reminders for ourselves to do our checks throughout the year, maybe on our credit, but it's the same with all our money. So think through what you can do to set up automatically reaching your goals. So if you're planning to save $50 more a month this year, or you want to increase that, then the best thing to do is to set up auto transfers of those savings goals so that it's happening. And I highly encourage you to set up savings goals at the beginning of the month. As soon as you get paid, that should be the first thing that goes out of your regular bank account, your regular spending account, so that it actually is happening. So if that's your goal, to save more, then set up an auto transfer. Or if you want to invest more, build your investment retirement account, then set up an auto system so it's being pulled. So it's not relying on you remembering or you having enough cash left in the bank at the end of the month or whatnot to get it done. Secondly, if you're trying to limit your limit your spending to reach these goals, then how are you going to do that? What is the automatic way you can do that? For me, I have a separate checking account because I'm a busy single mom and I don't have time to track things and I don't want to make it hard for myself. So I shift it to another spending account. So I have an auto transfer that as soon as I get paid, my amount that I have to spend goes out to another debit card, and that's the debit card I carry. So honestly, that's the one I check. It's on my phone. And if I need to, sometimes I'll be spending for several days. And then I'm like, the kids are like, can we go out to eat? Or I'm like, I'm tired. Can we go out to eat? Well, I open up that account and I see if I have the cash in it. And if I do, then we go. Or, unless I know there's something else we need. And if I don't, then I say, I'm sorry, guys, we don't have the money. And so we're going to have to go home and eat. And that's how I limit my spending, because if I don't do those kind of things, then I'm just like using it out of my bill paying account. And then I don't have the money for my savings goals or my bills, and I get in trouble with my spending. So I set up auto things to help me reach those goals I've set for myself. It's the savings, it's the limiting your spending, and then setting up your taxes like we talked about. If you set up your taxes in such a way that it's pulling out less because you have been pulling out too much, sometimes you can shift your taxes to your savings and not even feel it. So it's just setting up those systems, being thoughtful about it so that they're auto running and you don't even have to worry about it anymore.
Such great advice. I would love to automate more of my life and,
Yeah.
and free up time to actually take care of the people that I care about and to do more of what I want to do. I'll round us out with my last tip for today, which is that now that I spoke earlier about observing what draws our attention naturally and also what feelings we are at, is now to think about how can we start to change our behavior so that we can access more of what we desire. And for me, this comes a lot from experimentation, which is to find safe and small ways in our day-to-day to test out some hypotheses we have about what will make us happier, and making them accessible to us on a day-to-day makes it easier for us to do, and not like, oh, I have to wait until I need to wait until, I'm completely done with this big project before I have permission to try anything new. So one example would be that for myself, I have an interest in writing, and it's very different than the types of emails you do in, corporate business writing, which are a little less creative. So I snuck in little ways of, okay, how can I get some of that creativity in my day to day, where I started to include a little bit more flavor of myself into my emails with colleagues. And of course, always being respectful and mindful of what the business goal is. But there are still unique ways where I can alter my word choice a little bit, or I can try to convey some of the energy that I have verbally in writing. And so I at first felt a little bit scared of doing this, but I started to get some feedback from people that said, oh, like when you wrote an introduction email to introduce to business contacts, I've never seen anyone do it like that before. And we are all indeed, the only one of us out in the world. And so we can gain a lot from honoring how we show up in the world as ourselves. And there's there's always going to be people who are haters and who balk when we express ourselves in that way, but we're not here to please everyone that exists. And so my challenge to you would be to find, even if it seems really small, to find one small way that you can start incorporating your own flavor into your day to day, and let me know how that goes.
I know, as someone who gets the emails at work all the time, when they're boring as heck, you don't even want to read them. So I love the idea of finding ways that you have to do things already and adding a little bit of your personality, because some of us are going to love it because it'll change up our day to day.
That's right. Any other questions from folks while we have coming up on time, but any questions? If not, you know how to reach all of us, and we can wrap up so that you can all carry on with your days.
Yes, thank you so much. So ladies, if you still have more questions, feel free to type them in the chat. This was amazing. Thank you, both of you. These are very powerful tips. And I think they really, yeah, it was a heart from the very beginning when we started to talk, to make sure that you guys get everything that you need to find your strength, make it work, make 2021 work for you. 2020 has highlighted a lot of pain points for a lot of us, and especially in those three areas of like your finances. I mean, come on, like how many of us have had to make some sacrifices or had this little panic of like what's going to happen, and or health, having everything sort of change and your habits change. And I can bet a lot that for a lot of ladies, their periods just got worse in 2020 because of everything that was happening. And how impactful is that on the way that you express yourself and the way that you show up to the world, and you feel confident in who you are, right? If there's everything is stressed out, then the way that you show up is going to be from that place of fear. And so we really wanted to give you guys our three main impactful tips to make sure that you would get it different in 2021 and not stay in those pain points that were highlighted in 2020, but that you would feel that transformation and make sure that you get this new strength, like you get this financial strength coming into 2021, not carrying the burden that 2020 might have gotten, or knowing that burden and decided to take a stand on it. And same for your identity and your expression and your health. And so because we really wanted to give you all of the best chances to do just that, we also came up with an offer to make sure that you guys get the most out of it. Because right now we kind of talk about the three tips that apply to everyone, but what if you have some specific issues, or like what if you have a specific situation or a specific question? We wanted to give you a chance to work on that too. So we decided that we would kind of get a joint deal in which you guys could get access to one coaching call with each one of us. And that will allow you to really dig deep into your personal question, your personal situation. Or you can get more tips, now that we've covered the basics, where can you get more strength in your finances? Where can you get more strength in your communication, in your expression, in your confidence? Where can you get more strength in your health and in knowing that your body will carry you and it's not working against you, but it's going for you? So for a very limited time. So for those of you who are watching the recording, we wanted to make sure that you still have the time to do it. So for 7 days, we're giving this access to this deal. When you get the offer, you get one coaching call of 45 minutes with each one of us, which is huge, you guys. 45 minutes, we have the time to cover a lot of things from your own personal stories. So for 7 days, we're offering that only for $150. So when you get it for $150, you get one call with each one of us. So it's like this bundle call that you don't have to pay 3 times. You don't have to make, counts for it to be like 5 here, 5 here, 5 here. It's just, you buy it once and you get all 3 of us. It's not going to happen again, probably, because it's such a huge offer and it's such a special year. We wanted to make sure that you really get all the chances on your side. So for the next week, grab a spot, and when you get the offer, you're going to get access to our 3 calendars and just book a time. And you showed up here today, or you're showing up to watch this recording because you're taking a stand for 2021. So this offer is kind of like the next step to really show up and get all of the chances you can. And obviously in the next email, you're going to get more ways to get in touch with all of us. So stay tuned to that, and you will get the recording and the chance to jump on this offer. So thank you so much for all of you who came, and for all of you who are watching this recording. We wish you the absolute best.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks for being here and for your great questions.